Over in the automakers industry, or automaking industry, GM's IPO is expected to hit the markets. We're joined now by former auto executive and current University of Michigan Business School professor Gerald Meyers. Gerald, nice to have you back on the program. And when we talk about the GM IPO, there's some news out overnight about how China's SAIC, that is the biggest automaker, is now interested in buying a 1% stake in this IPO. What do you make of this new development?
Well, I think it's to be expected. The company is already involved very deeply, heavily with General Motors and building cars and selling them in China. And I would say it's expected that they would show confidence in the company by coming through with this 1% offer.
And it marks, I suppose, a further expansion of GM into China, right?
Well, General Motors has very high expectations in China. They've been quite successful with their vehicles there, the best-selling vehicles in China at this time. I think Buick is a leading mark.
Right.
And I think they expect to get a whole lot more out of that country.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of enthusiasm over this IPO, at least when you read the press reports. Some are saying that this IPO is actually priced a little bit too low, which guarantees its success. What do you make of that?
Well, it hasn't been priced yet. The early indications
right.
It will be offered between $26 and $29, which sounds quite reasonable to me. The usual way these things go is that the offering gets a 10% pop. And if it gets a 10% pop, it can go up $2 or $3, and then most everybody will be satisfied at that level. Higher, why some will be dissatisfied, lower, others will be dissatisfied.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true. You can't please everybody. Then, Gerald, what do you expect then over the next 6 months after this IPO? What do you want to come out of GM then after they've succeeded in this listing?
Well, I think there will be confidence in the company. I think there'll be an exuberance even in some quarters, and then the company will be preparing for the second tranche. This is only the beginning because it may be only 25% or so of what GM wants to sell and what Treasury wants to sell in order to repay the taxpayers the full amount.
Right, and although some critics have cautioned, this has come too far, too fast for this automaker.
Well, too far I would say not, because it's pretty modest, this initial tranche. Too fast, you can argue that of course GM would like to have, and others would like to have 6 or 7 very successful quarters before you go out with the whole thing. But GM, it doesn't have the luxury of that at this time. Treasury is pressing to get money for the taxpayers, which all taxpayers will agree, but
right.
They want to get a piece of it right now.
Okay, and just quickly, Gerald, where does this put GM then in relation to Ford after this listing? How much more powerful do they get?
Well, they'll be more comfortable, and the feeling that their investments, that their cash and they will have lost the label of being government motors to some extent, and then finally will have lost it altogether. And some believe that that's holding down General Motors sales.
Okay, all right, Gerald, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much. Appreciate it. Gerald Meyers, professor at the University of Michigan.